And greetings, casual citizens. Welcome back. I'm Paul, joined as always by my illustrious co-host Haley, joining over Discord. Say hi, Haley.
Well, hello everyone.
And we're here reviewing Big Little Lies, season 2, episode 5, Kill Me. Haley, give me your first impressions. What did you think of this episode?
I'm going to say I enjoyed this episode. I think mainly because I feel like I've seen this episode before.
Okay.
I thought that it was very, very repetitive. Like even like the same scenes and the same interactions um has all been done in previous episodes and previous episodes this season. I feel like every time I see when Ed and Nathan are, in a scene together, I know what's gonna happen. Like Ed's gonna say he doesn't want to be friends with him, and Nathan's gonna pop off and try to apologize, and then
Right.
they go their separate ways.
Yeah, that seems fair. To be honest, that is what tends to happen. Um, yeah, but overall, oh my god, I'm spilling all the beans right now. Anyway, uh, uh, so you didn't enjoy it?
Well, I want to say I did enjoy it. Well, okay, I enjoyed the last 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'll say that. That was probably my favorite part of the whole episode. I was actually when Renata mentioned to Celeste about like wanting to meet up with Mary Louise, I was really excited. I was like, "Oh, here it goes. Renata's about to put her in her place and tell a bitch what's up." And I was so disappointed. Like, of course Mary Louise was just, being her kind of snide um self, and I didn't, Renata, took her bait a little bit, but it wasn't the Renata I was expecting to get. I thought it was going to be a showdown, and like people were going to be storming off mad, and it was going to make Mary Louise think even more about Renata's what her role was with being there the night Perry died. And I didn't get that. I was um yeah, I was let down by that scene. Cuz both characters I seem are hot-headed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In different ways. We're not a hot-headed in a different way, and then I guess Mary Louise just being snide and conniving, I don't know. But yeah, it felt like, and it really saddens me. It did kind of feel like a filler episode,
Mm-hmm.
which bothers me because we only have 2 episodes left. Now don't get me wrong, there are parts of this episode that I really did like. I enjoyed a few of the scenes, but definitely, like if you didn't watch this episode and maybe just watch the last maybe 30 seconds, I think you could watch the next episode and understand what's going on a
That's
little bit.
that's fascinating because I thought this episode was amazing. I thought it.
Shut up, Paul. You did?
I did everything that I complained about last week. I felt like this one fixed. There was a lot that
Oh my
happened.
gosh.
I was gripped. There were scenes that were cripplingly good. So the scene with Mary Louise and Renata was unbelievable. So I was watching it with Jason, and even Jason was like, Jason's not a huge fan of the show, right? That's why he doesn't do the reviews and all this stuff. But I was watching it with Jason, and he was like, "Oh my god, she's so good. How do you not love her?" Like it was such a compelling scene on so many levels. It was unbelievable. I thought it was great all the way through. At the end, I was screaming at the TV because of all the theories about
Yep.
what is going on with Corey and just what's her name, Tori. There's too close. They need to fix that. But anyway,
Joseph.
Joseph, there was so much that happened. There was so much that
Yeah.
happened. It was great. It was so packed with so much stuff, and there was just excellent personal dynamics, excellent cinematography and music, and just we got to see Chloe again. We see Abigail.
Uh,
We see,
yeah.
we see Sky. I thought it was great. I loved this episode personally.
Wow.
It's a disagreement, but uh,
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row. That's so interesting because what you're talking about. Yes, I get what you mean with Nathan and Ed, right? And I said it last week. I continue to say it, right? We apparently we just have a weekly check-in with Nathan being a freaking caveman with Ed. I don't understand why we have to keep seeing that exact same scene every week. I'm
Yeah.
100% on board with you there. But everything else, that like I get your point with Renata, but to me, like that was what was so captivating about that scene is because Renata typically is this person who's like takes no shit off anybody, and Mary Louise even gets to her. She's just so good at. She knows exactly the button to press to send you over the edge or to make you doubt yourself, and she it's laser like precision on how she does this to people, and it's unbelievable. And Meryl Streep pulls it off so superbly that you're just like, I hate this woman with every ounce of me, but God, I love Meryl Streep for making me hate this woman so much because I would try to find the good in everything, and I keep sitting here saying like, at this at one hand, Mary Louise is right, right? Like these things are happening. There's a point to be made here, but then she does stuff like that, and you're just like, oh, she is pure evil, and Meryl Streep delivers it so well. I try not to hate any character, but she just it's cripplingly good. It's so good. Anyway,
She is a queen. I will give you that. Well, I maybe yeah, maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch that scene. It's just I just expected something so different, and I actually I got very excited about it when it was first mentioned earlier in the episode. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like I really got excited. And then it just didn't deliver the way I wanted it to. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I'm glad you got something out of that scene.
well, I mean, like, just to be clear, I enjoy it as much as I enjoy watching Mary Louise eviscerate everyone she comes in contact with. Which is to say, like, like I said, it makes me hate her, and it makes me hate her character, and I cringe, and I'm just, but at the same time, it's so compelling. Like that's what I enjoy about it. Her delivery is so great, and just her utter ruthlessness and the way she can just break down everyone is it's a sight to behold. It really is for me.
I okay, I feel you. I
But
feel you.
but it's interesting. It's interesting though that because like I said last week, I felt like almost nothing happened, and I was like I felt like we could have just skipped this, and you thought a lot of stuff happened, and this week it switched. And now by the end of the review that we did last week, I was kind of more on your page. I was like, oh, there was a lot that happened, and I guess it made I came around. So I'm interested to see if we will come around on this one too.
Bring me around, Paul.
I'm
Pull me
gonna
to your side.
I'm gonna give it my all. Okay, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Anyway, I wanted to just remind everyone, if you like this content, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. We do this every Sunday after the episode airs at roughly 10 p.m. It depends on how long the episode is. We get started a little late sometimes, but you can count on us to be live generally between 10 and 10:30 p.m. After the episode airs here on YouTube.com, Casual Notion. So go ahead and subscribe. And follow us on social media, twitter.com/casual notion, instagram.com/casual notion, and facebook.com/casual notion. All right. So let's start with what scene would you like to start with? What's one of the biggest scenes that you think? Can I convince you on the Mary
Uh,
Louise?
I'm sorry.
Can I convince you on the Mary Louise? Lynn and Renata?
I'm gonna go back and rewatch it and try and look at it in a different way because I had way too my I had expectations going into it. I'm gonna try to go into that. I'm gonna watch that scene again and I'm gonna try and just go in blind and see what I get out of it. I'll report back.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
I think you may persuade me.
Excellent. Okay. So what else stuck
Um,
out to you?
but as far as scenes go, the scene where Ziggy starts to get bullied
Oh,
was
yep.
another big, just man, what these poor little boys are going to have to go through. Um, people finding out about their lives, and it's just so heartbreaking. And you know, I'm not encouraging bullying whatsoever. But the fact that Max and Josh really do see Ziggy as a brother to them, even though they may not fully understand, you know, what rape is or what exactly, you know, their father did, they still, you know, look at Ziggy as their brother. And when this little twat comes up and starts picking on him, they rush right to his side.
Mhm.
And that I really liked the, you know, I now beating them to the point to where a little boy had to go to the hospital. Okay, we could have, you know,
Sure.
dialed that back a little bit. But, I love the community, I love the family, that those boys are able to understand at such a I mean, as second graders, first graders, second graders. It was a hard scene to watch, but yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. That scene was weird to me because the bully, I it seems like such a weird thing to be like, "Hey, your dad was," and I'm like, "You're 7. Do you know what that means? Like, what?"
Oh, kids are so mean. Kids are so mean, and they know so much more than what we think they do.
I mean, that has been
I
the
don't know.
theme this season, right? The kids know more than we think, but still,
Yes.
that one to me was so weird. I was just like, just I don't know. I guess I never had to deal with it, but just the idea of someone going up to another kid and be like, "Your dad was a rapist," and I was like, well, you're 7. Do you understand the context of what that means, or like maybe he's just repeating what he's heard, right? Like he's heard his
Possibly,
parents or he's heard
possibly.
adults. So
Mhm.
that was weird, and just also like, dude, why are you being such a dick, right? Like just being awful for no reason. Like, what did this
Being
kid
a
do
little
you?
shit.
Yeah, he's just Ziggy's just sitting there. He's playing with his cars. Like, what did he do? He didn't do anything to you. Like, it's just awful. But yes, then the way Max and Josh come up and totally stand up for him. I thought that was great, and that was a good moment. And I, it's one of those things that like then they get all suspended, and I was like, on the one hand, yeah, I hate zero tolerance policies, right? Where everybody, even if somebody else starts it, but I'm like, but on the other hand, 3 of them did beat the crap out of him, and he is in a hospital getting stitches. That's pretty excessive. A suspension is fair for that.
Oh, no, I agree too. I mean, you know, violence obviously is never the answer, but, you know, I mean, growing up, usually you know, kids are told, well, you know, if someone's bullying you or if somebody hits you, you know, sometimes you got to stand up for yourself and hit back, you know, and but I think they took it to a whole nother I mean, you don't take it that far to where a little boy is going, you know, to an emergency room to get his lip stitched back on,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
e- e- no matter, I mean, even with what he said to Ziggy, because that right there is fucked up what he said to that little boy, you
Oh
know?
yeah, it was awful. Just awful.
So, yeah.
It's funny.
And
Oh, go ahead.
oh, go on. No, 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 what's funny?
No, I have a tangent, so you go ahead and finish your story.
Oh god. Okay, yeah, let me go.
Yeah.
Um, I guess and, you know, watching Celeste, and then we can talk about Jane and how she handled Ziggy, but, you know, the way Celeste kinda sat the boys down and told them that, you know, violence is not the answer and that, they did you know, this was wrong, and, you know, how kind of angry they got towards her, like, you know, "We were protecting Ziggy," you know?
Hmm.
They're very defensive of their brother.
Hmm.
And you see them get very heated when it comes to talking to Celeste about that, and you see Celeste get very heated about, you know, because we see what she has, you know, had to, you know, she's been troubled with when it comes to the boys being like Perry. And then you see, I believe it was Matt, or I'm sorry, Josh, and we may have to go back and figure this out correctly, but I believe it was Josh is the one who kinda popped off and, you know, called her a bitch, and,
Hmm.
you know, she reacted, you know, of course, angrily, but, yeah, I think, you know, Celeste is, you know, she's trying to tell these boys that, you know, she really does not want them to ever result to violence in any manner. So, I mean, she's fucking trying, the poor lady.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of sympathy for Celeste. Yeah,
What's
my
your tangent, Paul? Give it to me.
well, it's just funny that you talk about violence is never the answer. It reminds me, I think you've seen it before, the movie Starship Troopers.
Oh, yes, I have seen that movie.
Yeah, great movie. It's a classic. It was hated in its time, but it's a great movie. Anyway, great expert analysis on fascism, right? Like of like just how you just settle into fascism is just a thing. And part of that was there's a scene where they're in school and this retired general he's a teacher and they're all in high school and he's talking about like, oh, power is the only thing that and force is the only way that you get things done because they've descended into the fascist thing. And one of the girls says violence is never the answer, and he goes, huh, I wonder what the leaders of Hiroshima and Nagasaki would say about that. Another girl's like, I bet they wouldn't say anything because they're all dead. He was like, exactly my point. And it was like, okay. I
Yeah.
mean, fair play, but the stakes are a little bit different than a schoolhouse bully. So, generally speaking, within the realm of this, violence is not the answer. So, I'm 100% on board with you there. But it just
Thank
reminded
you.
me. It just reminded me of that because it's like, well, I mean, like, he has a point. Violence kind of was an answer there, right? It was a response, though, in that case.
Yes. Thank you for that, Paul. I'm glad you gave us the insight on that.
Hey,
I did not think of that.
well, I gotta take tangents when I get them. That's what I say. Otherwise, how would we get them out there, right?
I
Am I
know
supposed to keep these things in my brain? Do you know what that does to a person? I'm just walking around with anecdotes about Starship Troopers. That's not good for anyone.
it. You got to get it out there.
I do every once in a while. Okay, so let's talk about Celeste and obviously the big story throughout the episode, which was again Mary Louise trying to take custody of the kids, and we get several scenes of negotiations with the attorney. Celeste isn't happy with the attorney, and essentially it culminates and they offer her a deal where they say, hey, if you take addiction treatment classes, basically, then we'll have joint custody, right? And I guess the alternative is Mary Louise is going to go for full custody.
Correct. If
Okay.
it goes to court, I believe that's what she's going for.
Okay. So, and then her attorney advises that, like, actually, that's a pretty good deal. That's why I didn't say anything, right? And what did you think about that? Because I'm kind of in with her attorney. That was actually like not a bad deal, right?
Correct. It is not. It is not a bad deal to take because you always hear that if it goes to court, typically you should have taken the deal prior to it actually going up in front of the judge or whatever. Um, I so yeah, I think she possibly should have taken it, but again, I'm not a mother, but I know, when what I know about Celeste and her character and, what I've tried to learn from her is that, those are her boys and no one is going to take them from her. I don't think she has a drug and or addiction problem. I think she's coping in ways that maybe aren't she may need to switch it up a little bit, but I do not feel like those boys are in harm. I don't. I feel like yeah, she's maybe, you know, has drifted a little bit because I don't know, her husband was murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a very difficult relationship. And we see that throughout this season,
Mm-hmm.
she she's so glad that she has so much anger towards him, but then there are times that she really misses him. Um so I wasn't surprised when she didn't take the deal and says you're not getting my boys. I really didn't like after what the lawyer said, you got to just be quiet and just play the role and give him the performance, and you cannot lash out like that. So when she did that, I'm like, "Oh shit, this is not going to look this is going to come back." And now the fact that she didn't take that deal, some other people are going to be called up in the court. So,
Well, yeah, that's the part.
there's that.
Yes. I mean, I actually
And
kind
as
of
time well, as time is going on, people single one of those girls are feeling so different about what happened that night and what they said, and
right.
it's just like, we probably shouldn't do this right now, but it looks like we're gonna."
Well, you know, I actually have kind of a different, I guess, view of it in the sense of like, I don't think Celeste has like a major addiction problem or anything like that. But again, it's two times in the past, what, 2 weeks, right? That she has woken up and just randomly in places not knowing where she is or what's going on around her. Um, so, okay. I think the bigger thing is she needs counseling, right? She's getting it, but it's she she needs time, I think. And I hate that the deal was you do this and then you get joint custody, because it should have been more like uh, the alternative of just losing her kids entirely is ridiculous. Like the deal should have been, okay, we'll take joint custody for 3 months, right? And during those 3 months, go through some program, get some help, and oversee it. If you do all that, then at the 3 months, they're your kids again, right? I don't want to take care of your kids in perpetuity. I just think that you're struggling right now, and we want to help you through this, right? So let's do joint custody, and you get some help for yourself and deal with the grief that you're going through, and and then after that, you can have your kids back. The deal that she gave of, oh, joint custody, otherwise I'm going to take your kids outright forever, is just ugh. I didn't like that, but I do think that Celeste is struggling, and it's not to blame her. I mean, some bad shit happened, right? Lots of bad shit happened all at once,
Right.
very quickly, and she's struggling to deal with that as anybody would. So, just like I've said multiple times. I mean, they're not doing anything to help. That's what's frustrating. It always feels like there's an ulterior motive there, and that's what frustrates me. But I think the core concept of Celeste getting help is not necessarily bad. I do think that they're
Oh,
grief
yeah.
counseling or
Yeah, the
whatever.
bitch needs help. Yeah, she does, and she is going to counseling, but, we've seen her in those counseling sessions. She tends to, try to run those as well.
Yeah.
So,
And she's
yeah,
holding
she
back, and it's tough.
absolutely. She's definitely holding back.
And I get it, right? It's tough, right? Like even with a therapist, you're trying to hold back. There's only so many people that you want to know the deepest, darkest things about you. And especially if one of those things could land you in prison and have your kids taken away forever. But at the same time, it's just it's starting to spiral out of control, all from this like why it just seems like it could have just been like, yeah, okay, he was beating her, I pushed him and he slipped and fell. And it's just like, okay, involuntary third degree manslaughter, right? And it's like, whatever, you do 500 hours of community service. Bonnie does 500 hours of community service, and we all move on with our lives. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just disappointing. And that I think has been my core problem with this season overall. Is just I've said it multiple times. Like, why are the cops still pursuing this? It just seems like such a contrived plot device for this whole season that it didn't need to be that way. But other than that, now that we have this contrivance and this is what we're left with, what we are dealing with in the aftermath, um, is totally believable in my opinion. And now it's starting to feel like, unfortunately, that contrivance is getting in the way of the resolution of the things that Nicole Kidman, right, that Celeste, sorry, should be dealing with, which was the aftermath. They were in Jane, right, and Ziggy, and all of them. They should instead be worrying about the aftermath of this awful thing that's happened to all of them by this one person, and instead now they're just having to go through all these other hoops to try to avoid it, and all because Madeline made up a story. So
Yeah.
that's disappointing. But that being where we are, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm I sympathize, and I said it last week that Mary Louise is actually right on some of these points. And again, you know, so to go back to the scene with her and Renata, maybe she wasn't completely wrong in that situation either, right? Because then Renata feels guilty, and then she spends the next day with Amabella. She takes the day off. And Amabella is immediately like, "Oh, why are you taking off? Like, why are you spending time with me? Is this because we're broke, right?" And there was a sense of like, "This isn't normal. Why are you spending time with me?" And I think Renata had this gut check of like, "Oh, wow, maybe I actually was away too much and not focusing enough on my daughter." And so there's like these little kernels of truth, but then she's just so awful, just in so many ways. And I can see in the previews for next episode now she's going to start going after Jane, and it's just why? Why do you have to destroy everything? you know?
Yeah, I guess I didn't I don't know why I wouldn't have put this together about the fact after her conversation with Mary Louise that she did spend the next day with her daughter. I miss that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That was another thing that made that scene so powerful is because you could tell.
It it brings a lot more to that scene. I totally missed that.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know what I was concentrating on, but I did. I missed that.
It 100% got under her skin, right? And it hit
Yeah.
that's why it was so powerful because like you see the repercussions. It was like, oh man, she really drilled into Renata on this like this pain point, right? That like she didn't even know that she had. That was what's so fascinating about it. Renata, if you had asked her 5 minutes before that, do you think you're a good mother? Do you think you're spending enough time with her? Yeah, of course I do. What are you talking about? I have it all. I'm great, right? And then Mary Louise does like 2 sentences and like her entire worldview as a mother changes. And you're just like, oh, Meryl, how do you do it? It was so believable. So, but anyway, yeah, so there is also a hint there that you mentioned about how then the five they get together, or I guess is it six now? No, it's still five. The Monterey Five they get together, and yeah, Celeste is warning that hey, we have to go to you know give testimony, right? And they're going to try to perjury trap you about his death. So now they're kind of locked because Renata brings up a good point. Like, well, okay, if you plead the fifth, I know technically, legally speaking, they're not supposed to take that into consideration. But who honestly doesn't take it into consideration, right? If a judge asks you, if an attorney asks somebody in a court, did you do this? Did you murder this person? And you go, I plead the fifth. What a judge can say legally, we're supposed to ignore that all we want, but a judge sitting there is not going to ignore that, right?
Right.
And so now
Agreed.
they're totally screwed, right? So how do they handle this? What's I don't know what the answer here is.
I don't know because Zoe's at her wits fucking end.
Oh, Bonnie. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
Bonnie, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
Bonnie is at her wits' end. I mean, with that, at the end of the episode where she's standing, and I believe we've seen again. I think we had a repetitive scene. I think we saw this before, of her standing outside the police station.
well, yes, except of course this time she sees someone. Uh,
Ooh, who comes walking out?
she sees Corey come walking out. Which
Boyfriend Corey.
okay, so what was your take on that? What do you think? What do you think's up with that?
Dude, I don't know. Okay, first instincts, I have not put much thought into this because we are literally reviewing this, like, right after it
Yeah,
aired, and it happened so like, there was, like, 5 scenes that happened very rapidly, and there was a lot of context in all of
yes, there
them.
was.
So, seeing Corey walk out, I don't know if maybe he because it did follow, Jane's, breakdown to Corey whenever she was, like, trying to be intimate with him, and I got a little excited because I was like, "Oh my gosh, she's, like, ready. She's gonna, take the next step with her and Corey,"
Mhm.
and then you just see that poor girl break down, and it just, like, your heart just, like, drops. You're like, "Oh my god," like,
I felt so bad for her.
um yeah, and so then you see Corey walk, the next time you see him after he's like playing with the boys and stuff. Um, he comes walking out of the police station. So did he go there and like maybe talk to someone about, you know, someone that he knows is having a lot of PTSD from she's a rape victim. Um, did he like just ask for like help, or maybe was he trying to find out like more information on, because does he doesn't know that it's Perry that's the father, does he?
Well,
I'm
okay.
sorry for asking this, but I'm really not sure if he knows who the father is. I mean, he knows that Ziggy is a result of, fucking rape,
Mhm.
but, does she talk about who the actual father is? It being Perry Celeste, dead husband? I don't know, but, maybe he was trying to go and find out more information on the case or, like, what happened.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
go
So
on.
I think so. My first okay. So if the question is, does he know that Perry's the dad? That's a complicated question because of what I think is really going on. But to answer the question of has Jane told Corey that Ziggy's dad was Perry? That I don't know. I don't think we've seen that explicitly. But on the other hand, right, they spend a lot of time with Max, and everybody at the school seems to know. So like I don't know. I guess it's conceivable he doesn't spend time at their school. Maybe he
Okay.
doesn't know.
Well, okay, I get what you're saying, that he may know through the grapevine.
Sure, that's one option. Okay,
Okay.
but I think he knows for a different reason. So my first thought when I saw him was like, oh, he got arrested. Like, because I was just thinking, hey, this Corey guy started out super weird, but like he's turned out to be great. How awesome is this? Don't judge a book by its cover, right? First impression, super creepy, right? But then after that, it worked for him. Okay, he got it in, and like he has been a great person. He's great with the kids. He was great with Jane. That scene was really nice, and he did everything that he was supposed to do, right? In that situation. So I give him 100% woke props. You get a woke award, Corey. And so I was really up on Corey. And then I see him come out, and my first thought was, oh, he actually is some creepy weirdo. I was right. And he did some weird thing and he got arrested, and now he's made bail or whatever and he's leaving. That was my first thought. But then I was like, but the cop, because there was a cop walking with him. I thought the cop was showing him out after he made bail or something like that. But then I was
Okay.
like, that was my first thought. Then my second thought was what you said, which is like, oh, no, the cop didn't look like he was escorting him out after being arrested. He looked like he was just walking out with him. So then I was thinking, oh, did he go in to talk to somebody about this? Did they call him in to question him because he's getting close, right? Did the cop call him in to ask him questions now he's getting close to Jane? But then my third thought, and I think based off of kind of what we saw in the previews for next episode, I think he's an undercover cop. I think he's totally playing this angle to try to get close to him to try to figure out what's going on.
Oh my gosh, never entered my mind. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm
I would
100%.
love that. I thought you were going to say that maybe you thought, like, the boys told him or something,
No,
but
no.
yeah, but, oh, man, I would love that if that's what it was. Ooh.
So did you watch the after credits, the promotion for next
I
episode?
I did, yeah.
So I think, and this is why I think this, the voice that's in the beginning that's kind of narrating, you don't see who's saying it, but it's kind of narrating, and it's a guy's voice talking about the cop trying to do something. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's basically talking about the cop, the woman that keeps following him, right? And he was talking about her and how she knows certain things. She's trying to piece together this case. I think that was Corey's voice. And I think it's basically him
Oh.
talking to someone, Bonnie, possibly, right? Because Bonnie saw him. And I think maybe Bonnie confronts him and he has to spill it like, yeah, no, I'm totally an undercover cop and she's working, or an informant or something like that, right? Maybe not a cop, but like the cops came on to, to use him to get close to, and maybe he had some drug charge or some bullshit, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I would love that. I would love that.
That's what I think's happening here. I think he's working for the police somehow. So, which is weird, and I'm starting to get the feeling. So this also happened at the end, the scene with Tori, and which, by the way, totally at 100% looks like the actress from last season. Now I see it 100%. I don't know why I didn't see it in episode
Me
one.
too. Same. I thought the same thing. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that bitch, that's Tori."
Yeah, same person. Totally got that. But so I think Tori is in on it too, because at first I saw that scene coming, and I was like, oh, it's what I thought it was at the beginning. They were just like when we talked about in episode one. I was like, they're setting this up for him to cheat with her, right? And it's gonna make this weird circle of each of them cheated with the spouse of another one, right? And like, I was like, what? That's so weird. And so when this happened and she buys him the drink and she starts, rubbing his back, and I was like, oh, that's where they're going with this. And then you see her husband, Joseph, creeping over there watching.
Sitting in the corner.
Yeah. And I'm like, my first thought was like, wait, are they into like 3 ways? Is it a 4-way? Are they swingers? Are they going to try to get what's going on here? But that didn't make sense. But then you see it juxtaposed with Corey. I'm beginning to think they're also working with the police. And now they're going to try to get Ed to turn against everybody, to turn against Madeline and everybody.
Ooh.
I think this is all a huge setup.
Well, this episode just got a lot better for me then.
See, look at that. Bringing it around already.
Bringing me on around. No, I love that. I think, I was fine with like the Tori and Ed stuff because it kind of, brought that first episode kind of full circle a little bit. But seeing Joseph sitting at the table, like staring at them, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yep.
I didn't think much more on it other than it's either something creepy or he wants to talk to Ed or I don't even know. But them working on trying to, have the truth come out. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we're pushing towards. I think they're really pushing towards this being the culmination of the scene being this whole thing, or the season, sorry, being the cops were trying to set you up and pit people against each other this whole time. Because I'm constantly watching this. I'm like, man, just every single relationship is spiraling out into just drama and disaster, right? Whether it be Bonnie and her parents, and we'll get to this. We learn more about Bonnie, and I think that's important. But all these different relationships are spiraling into disaster, and it's just like it seems like soap opera, right? But if you now put it in the context of no, the police are working all these different people. They're working with all these different people to split them up and to cause this strife to try to get them to break and make a mistake. Then all of a sudden it becomes like, oh, that's really interesting, you know?
Oh yeah, that's great writing.
So I'm excited. I hope that's what it is. But we'll see. That's the vibe I'm getting from the preview for next week. So I'm hoping we're going to see big things. Wrapping up a little bit, let's talk about Bonnie. So obviously Bonnie's mom, Elizabeth, is still in the hospital. And so the episode's title comes from that, called Kill Me. And because apparently, Bonnie goes to see her mom and Elizabeth says to her, kill me. And we get a lot more backstory about Bonnie. And apparently her mom was abusive to her when she was a kid. And her dad didn't really help and didn't stop it, basically. And he felt like he did, but so there's a whole thing there. But we're getting a lot more of Bonnie's backstory and what she dealt with her mom. And that's not quite what I was expecting. Although I guess after last episode, it makes sense where we saw her kind of drowning her. But this is the first time, like I said, we kind of see it where no, there was like apparently major abuse going on. And what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's showing that Bonnie's past was very dark. She had a very dark past, especially when it came to her mother,
Mhm.
and not being able to depend on her father to, you know, protect her. And that was her main thing that she kept saying. You may have tried to, you know, m- stop it or, get the attention towards you, but you never protected me. So her growing up and her relationship with her mother, it seems like it is very dark.
Yeah, and we've seen Bonnie. It's so interesting because we saw Bonnie throughout all of season 1, and she was the lightest character of all of them, right?
Yes, yes, she was this beautiful bohemian, love life, and
Mhm.
tried to make it to where Nathan and Madeline have a good relationship. Like, yeah, she was all about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and now she's just she's, I think what happened with, Perry and her, pushing him is just brought her back to those dark places that maybe she had to deal with that, aggressiveness that she got from her mother.
Yeah, totally. And I think just the way that Bonnie has her character has become so down compared to, like I said, like how up she was last season is a really interesting choice, and it gives her a lot more dimensionality than I think we got out of her. She was kind of a secondary character, kind of like Renata in season 1, and
Uh-huh.
now she's front and center, and we're getting so much with her, and I love that. I really didn't expect that her mom was abusive that way. I didn't. I don't know. She didn't strike me that way, right? And I can't tell if she still is, and is she abusive towards her husband? Uh,
Well, I think a lot of the abuse came from when she drank alcohol a lot because they've talked about that too. So I think it's when
mm,
she was drinking is when it was the worst. And now like even when they were out to dinner, she said, I'm only going to have one glass, and Bonnie did make that comment of, like one, turns into 100 or something like that.
mhm.
So I think the abuse most, probably happened majority of the time when her mom was just drunk. She was an abusive drunk towards her daughter.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally see that. Um, I just I don't know. I guess that makes sense, and we haven't seen her drink a lot in this season, so maybe that's why it didn't connect with me at first. But although she is starting to drink, right? Because when they went out to dinner, she was drinking, and then, yeah, that's when Bonnie commented on it. So maybe that's what's led her to be pretty aggressive towards Bonnie. Maybe she's drinking again. Um, but anyway, yeah, totally disheartening that her past had to be that way too. It's just I don't know. It's kind of yeah, as you learn more and more about the past of all these different characters, it's just man, everybody carries so much baggage, and not just in the. It's like life is that way. Like you watch it and you think like, oh, this is made up and stuff like that, and like that's why it's so crazy and twisted. And yeah, there's murder, and that's not common, right? But like these stories, man, every family has this crazy baggage, and it's so interesting to see how they all deal with it and how they all continue to deal with it for their entire lives. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see like the abuse that Bonnie got as a child could have just been, released when she saw, Perry and, abusing Celeste. And then you see Madeline having her trouble with, trusting marriage because of what she saw as a child. So I think it's also bringing around the
great
fact
point.
of, what these children see at that young age, they don't forget about it. It
Hmm.
transforms them into the mothers and wives and friends that, they'll turn into or be. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point bringing up Madeline because I've kind of forgotten to cover that. Madeline and Ed are still going through their issues, and they decided to go to what do they call it, a healing retreat or something like that, which ended up basically being a bunch of hippies hugging each other,
Yeah.
and and it was like clearly not the venue for Ed and Madeline, and they both recognized it pretty quickly. But that scene that they had in the car afterwards, and he kind of lays it out on the table in terms of like, hey, when our first date happened, it was very clear that you were interviewing a father and not a soulmate and all that stuff. And he talks about like, okay, I reconciled that. I was totally fine with it. If you're here to make a practical transaction, I love you enough to be that practical transaction, right? And I was like, oh, that's very big of him, very woke of him. Um, and then, he brings up a point, but like, then you made an irrational decision and I don't know how to deal with that. And you see, she does respond to that. Like, I, maybe it's, I just don't trust these relationships and I have to wreck them. I mean, this happens a lot, right? You have to wreck it before I get dumped, right? I have to dump somebody before they dump me. And she was like, I didn't trust my parents' relationship. I didn't trust Nathan's the relationship with Nathan. And that was proven right. And her parents were proven right because they got a divorce. And so now she walks around with this vulnerability all this time and that kind of sense. And I get that. I feel that sense of almost imposter syndrome of like things are going too well. I don't deserve this. When is the next shoe going to drop, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that pushes you into, well, I'm going to make the next shoe drop. If this is what's expected of my
Yeah,
life,
I
I
will.
need to make that
Right, yeah,
happen.
I'm at least gonna have control of the shoe dropping.
Yes, right. Like I'm going to be the one, to turn the tables, so to speak. And yeah, it was just. that was great, such a great point. The way they wrap this up, and they all are dealing with that, and dealing with their choices, and how their experiences as kids has affected who they are today. And then now we're seeing the next, like, I think we've talked about this before. We're seeing the next generation of it now with Max and Josh and Ziggy, and how they're being affected by everything that's happening around them. So not
And
just,
and Emma Bella being like, when they had the
yep,
mother-daughter day, it's like, "Oh, are we doing this because 'cause we're broke?"
yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree, right? Because it's just, it's not even just the bad things that already happened to them from Perry and all that stuff, but now what is Mary Louise and this custody fight going to do to those kids long term? And again, spoilers, but in the previews for the upcoming episodes, it very much looks like Mary Louise is now going to go after Ziggy and try to get Ziggy too. And which, if she does, I will. Oh, we should burn this place to the ground. I cannot handle that. Do not do that, Mary Louise. You will wrath. The wrath will be copious. I will not be happy about that. Twitter will not look kindly upon you.
No,
They already
they
don't.
won't.
Just FYI. But yeah, how is this gonna now affect the way those kids grow up? And it's just,
Mm.
whew, so it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. Let's see. In terms of any kind of stragglers that we have out there, one of the things that stuck out to me was Nathan buys Bonnie a treadmill. I didn't understand that. Am I the only one?
Yeah, that was very random, and with the book, sitting on top of it.
Yeah.
My only thing there is that, because we know Nathan has been trying to work on him and Bonnie's, relationship, and we all know, she has said, "I just went on a run, I went on a hike, that's all I've been doing." So I think he got her the treadmill so that maybe she can run at home so that she can be, at home with maybe him more. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one, it didn't mean anything to me. I was like, okay, she likes to run. Yeah, I guess maybe that makes sense actually. If he wants her to just, instead of going out and running all the time, to be with him when he runs, maybe. The book, I don't know what that book is. Maybe it's some kind of inspirational, motivational book that's based around running.
Self-help. Yeah, self-help running book.
Yeah, that could be a thing. So I don't know. That just seemed weird. It didn't make sense in the episode. I was like, I could have dealt without that. I don't.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah, it was like 5 seconds and we got nothing from it. It was like, "Okay."
I hope it comes back later, because otherwise, I don't know why that existed, why that scene existed. But to be fair, we were saying the exact same thing when we saw Tori in season 1 or in episode 1, and here we are.
And here we are, getting the context.
So the writers have proven that they can make these subtle things and bring them back. So now I'm kind of on the lookout for them. So I'm kind of writing them down as I see them to see when they come back, and then we'll be like, aha, this is why the police planted that treadmill, and there's a spy microphone in it. That's what's happening.
Exactly.
They're leaning on Nathan about, I don't know, he beat up some person probably, because who knows? It seems like something he would do. Other stragglers, we got a scene with Ed and Chloe, which again, we're not getting nearly enough Chloe in this season.
I will
So
agree to that.
I'll take every scene that I can get, and that scene was beautiful and heartwarming and so great, because just not a word was said, right? She just comes in.
Exactly, not a single word was said, but you felt that.
Oh, I felt it. She comes in and she hugs him, and it's just like they don't have to say anything. He knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. She knows what
Mhm.
he's dealing with. It tore me up. I fell apart. It was a beautiful scene. So I will admit to totally losing my wits on that one, because it was great.
It
Uh,
was.
and also, by the way, like I said, the scene with Corey and Jane, I thought that was also really really tender and nice, and he did everything he was supposed to. Renata, she gets removed from the Women in Power, which I gotta say, fuck that. Like, not her again. She makes a good point, right? She was like, I thought we were all supposed to be like on the same team, and now they're just like, I think she called them vicious sluts or something like that. But it was like she had a point, which is like, you're writing this piece about women in power, and her husband goes and blows all her money, and she decides to stand by with him through bankruptcy, and you penalize her for that. Like, that's super not woke.
Yeah. How is that not a powerful woman with a freaking strong head on her shoulders? And yeah.
Right.
moral, like, family value. I mean, yeah, exactly. I was a little like,
It's just
"Damn,
awful.
bitch, you should be mad."
She should totally raise hell. Like I'm totally on team Renata now. Like she should raise hell. She should be pissed about this. How dare they? How dare they? That she
Fuck that
doesn't deserve it.
magazine.
She doesn't deserve that. She deserves way better than that. Fuck them. I agree. Fuck them. Oh, sorry, I was not talking to the mic. Let's see. Is there any other thing that we're missing that you can think of?
I'm trying to think. Nothing right off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, I think we covered just about of it. The only other thing is, and we kind of talked about it, but that Elizabeth saying "kill me." What does she?
Oh, yes, that would be the only thing is, I mean, what's gonna happen with Elizabeth is Bonnie going to be that person or yeah,
Well,
that's gonna
because what confused me was Bonnie seemed to just not react to it at all. She just kind of
right.
get like, I was like, well, that's kind of a big thing to say to someone, and that's kind of a big thing for you to not react at all to, and just kind of keep giving her. Was she giving her the bath at the time, or is that later?
Yeah, like a li I think the bath would I don't know, was that earlier? I don't know if she was, like, giving her the sponge bath at that time when she said that. I think she was just, like, putting stuff away and, like, telling her stuff.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I think the bath was earlier. I'd have to go back and check. You're right. I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think the bath was earlier. So, yeah, she was just like packing or something like that, and her mom says "kill me," and she just kind of looks at her and then just goes back to packing. I was like, seems like a bigger deal. I don't know why we're just moving past this. So, do you think that was like real? Do you think she's lucid when she's saying "kill me"? Is that like a real thing, or is that just? But it has to be important because it's the title of the episode. You know?
Well, that and her father mentioned something to Bonnie at her yoga studio about how we have to do something about this.
Get her out of the hospital. Yeah. And
Yeah,
we've seen the cop there. Is the cop coming to her when nobody's there? Right?
see?
Because we saw the cop at the hospital. So like what
This episode?
do what? No, no,
This
no.
episode?
I think it was last episode. Because I remember I mentioned I was like, why is that cop there? And then you said like she was there. Madeline said she was there for some other case, or Renata said she was there for some other case, and like she
Jane.
wasn't. Yeah, or Jane. Yeah, there you go. That she was there for something else and not following them, but like pretty sure she's following them. I mean, we know she's following other people, so why wouldn't she be following Bonnie? I'm wondering if she's going in and talking to Elizabeth when nobody else is there. So because otherwise, I don't. That was just weird. And it was just weird that there was no reaction. And it's like I said, you could pass it off as being a moment of her being in a coma and being in a hospital and struggling and all this stuff. But then why is it the title of the episode? It has to be important. And I don't know what it means.
Well, they better tell us.
Well, I mean, they've done pretty good at bringing up back their references so far. So
Yes. And we've got 2 seasons, or I'm so sorry. We have 2 episodes left, people, so
do we have to? I thought we had 3 because this is only episode 5, right?
I thought there were only 7 episodes, but hey, I could totally be
Oh,
wrong on that.
I didn't check. I just assumed there were 8 episodes like last season. But if there's only 7, well then yes, we only have 2 episodes. That's
Well, I hope well, I could be wrong on that, but for some reason in my head, I had down that it
let me.
was only 7 episodes. So if anyone knows if there are only 7 or 8 episodes,
Oh
please comment and let us know.
no, you're 100% right, and I was wrong about last season too. Last season only had 7 episodes, so there's only 7
And
episodes scheduled for this
and there's
season.
only 7 in this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Wow. So you're right. We only have 2 episodes left. Holy cow. Oh man, it's getting down to it. Well, anyway, if you want to watch that, be sure to tune in to youtube.com Casual Notion next Sunday if you want to watch that. Like I said, we'll be live somewhere between 10 and 10:30, generally speaking, after the episode airs. Overall, have I convinced you and moved you at all in this episode, Haley?
Oh, I believe you have. I'm actually really
Yeah.
excited to go back and rewatch it. There were a couple things that I totally missed that I don't know how I did, and it would it would make me feel m- more. It would make me feel better about the episode and it not just being very repetitive and a filler episode. So I think you pulled me over, honestly.
Great. So
Recommend.
you're okay. So you're gonna recommend. That's great. I obviously recommend. I think this has been my favorite episode of the season. Meryl Streep's acting continues to be excellent. It was just so moving. It reached into my soul. She's so good at it. Like, she makes me hate her so much, and I don't want to hate you, Meryl, because you're great. But you're really good at making me hate you as a character. So, anyway, yeah, totally, wholeheartedly recommend. And so I think if there's nothing else, that will go ahead and close out this episode. You good? Nothing else?
I'm good. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Goodbye. Till next time.
Thank you. As always, here we go. Like, comment, and subscribe. And follow us on social media, twitter.com/casualnotion, instagram.com/casualnotion, and facebook.com/casualnotion. And yeah, check out our other review videos and check out our most recent video if you want to. This should be on the screen right now. So until next time, keep it casual, everyone. Bye.